Hello team, Brent Fikowski here, the Professor Project. I'm gonna teach you how to do rope climbs. So we're not doing legless, we're doing regular rope climbs using your feet, feeted rope climbs. This is gonna take a while. I have seen a lot of videos online going over rope climbs, and I think none of them are bad, but none of them are good enough. None of them are thorough enough, so this is gonna take some time. I'm gonna go through everything I know about rope climbs. And yeah, so let's get started. We're gonna start from head to toe. So first thing, if you're competing outside, you're likely gonna wanna wear sunglasses, because if you're looking up at the sun, that sucks. A hat, not so much. This is definitely a movement where you're going up and down, so it's just gonna fly off your head anyway, so don't bother. Next is, you can wear a shirt or not a shirt, it's not gonna be a big issue. Hands, so depending on how you do rope climbs, I would recommend taping some of your fingers. You can see on my pinky, I've got a bit of a callus buildup. I find when I do rope climbs, especially legless, but either rope climb, I end up gripping with that pinky, and especially when I slide down, sometimes that'll tear. So I like to tape my pinkies. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Either use regular white athletic tape, or this is goat tape, G-O-A-T, goat tape. Sometimes I'll use it, I find that there's a little bit of a sticky adhesion, sticky substance on both sides. So if you put it on fresh right before you start, you might actually gain just a little bit of stickiness outside of just using chalk. So I'll show you how I tape. So start with the outside on top, only do about 2 wraps, not too tight, and then finish again on top, because you know that the contact's gonna be made in this section. So if the tape either starts or ends down here, as you do more rope climbs, it's gonna unwind itself. So keep that on top. All right, next thing, with shorts or pants, I like to wear longer compressions. You might get that thigh grazing. When we go to legless rope climbs, we'll talk more about this, but definitely on any type of rope climb, you wanna wear like long compressions. For women, I would recommend, if you like wearing skins, you can do that, and maybe even some thicker shorts. And then the next thing, probably the most important part about rope climbs you guys are familiar with, is from the knee down. So you're gonna get abrasions often on your shin or on your calf. So you wanna protect against that. I usually tell people at the gym, if you're doing rope climbs and you don't have long socks or knee sleeves or anything like that, don't do rope climbs at all. Because if you don't get a lot of blood circulation in your shin, so if you get a cut there, it takes a really long time for it to heal. So I prefer wearing 2 pairs of socks. That works really well for me. Always double knot, whatever shoe you're wearing. I'll wear nanos, but basically any shoe's fine for rope climbs as long as they don't fall apart. Some people will wear 1 knee sleeve over top of the one leg that tends to get abrasions. I don't like that as much. It'll move up and down, and if it moves up too much, you're exposing the lower part of your leg. But some people like it. I think they think it looks cool. And or you can buy something like this. I think Rock Tape sells these. A bunch of companies sell them now. They're like shin guards, so this front pad is quite thick. But I'll do a lot of rope climbs in just a double pair of long socks and not have an issue. So that's my recommendation. That's basically everything you need to know about prepping your body, so to speak, for rope climbs. So let's dive into it. We're gonna work on the J-hook. So I'm gonna give you an example of doing a J-hook all the way to the top of the rope, coming down, and then we're gonna break it down in like a really detailed way. All right, we ready? Climbing the rope. Okay, rope climbed. So we're gonna break it down step by step. The one thing I want you to remember, probably the biggest cue for this whole thing, is you're climbing a rope, your hands are on the rope. Typically what's gonna fatigue first is your shoulders, your biceps, your upper back, and probably more than anything, your grip. So I want you to use your arms as little as possible, which is going to allow you to climb the rope a little faster, but more importantly, you're going to be able to do more reps throughout the workout quicker. So it's all about managing that fatigue in your arms. So all these things I'm going to be teaching you, if you remember nothing else, try to learn to climb a rope using your arms as little as possible, and you're going to be using proper technique, momentum, and your legs. So first things first, the actual clamp with your feet, and then I'm gonna show you kind of the steps to use that clamp to get yourself up the rope using your legs as little as possible. So I'm gonna give the clamp here, let's see. Something to keep in mind is whatever way the rope spirals, that's likely the way you're gonna start spinning as you climb the rope. First things first, this is how your foot's gonna look. I use my right leg on this, crossed. My toe is pointed up as high as I can, and the rope is sort of in the cradle of my heel here, the front of my shin. Both feet, you need to remember to keep your toes as close to your knee or your shin as possible, pretty much for the entirety of this until the very end. And at the very end, then the left foot is going to be pressed on top of the right foot. Left foot underneath, clamping on top of the right foot. I'm gonna bring a box and we're gonna explain this again. So we're gonna focus in on this J-hook pinch. I'm gonna tell you a few mistakes people often make. So again, lifting that right leg up, sort of 45-degree angle approximately. Left leg comes under. The rope is going to be basically in the center of this foot, and then it's going to come all the way around to here, guided by this left foot. And again, when you start the rope climb, this left toe is going to be pointed back towards your heel. And then when you finish, it's going to come here. Now, when you actually have a full rope, this will likely drape down and around, and you're going to create this full loop, or it'll come up and down this way. But it's going to have this full S shape. Now, this left foot, this is probably the biggest mistake I see, is people doing this. And then what happens is as the weight of your body pulls you, starts to slide through. The mistake they're making is not bringing that foot all the way around, pinching the left foot on top of the right, and squeezing them both together. So when I do this hard, I should be squeezing with all my pressure in and down. This is probably a very revealing pose for me, but you're welcome. And then I should be able to do that so hard that no matter how hard I pull this way or this way, it's not going anywhere. So I should be able to have my full weight on this. Notice how my hands aren't grabbing and I'm just hanging out. Your full weight is between your 2 feet. Yeah, it does kind of hurt. You know, I'm squeezing my feet together. The rope is obviously digging into my shin a little bit, but you won't bleed if you have, you know, enough layers protecting you from that rope. That's pretty much it, guys. That's why you want to double knot. Your shoelaces will come undone if you don't double knot your shoelaces, so do that as well. Now that we have the pinch sorted out, that's how you do the J-hook properly. Remember, we don't want to use our arms, so there's a sequence to complete this. Obviously the most important part is this pinch, but now I'm going to show you a 4-part sequence that every good rope climb is going to have. The better you get at it, the smoother that sequence becomes and the faster it becomes. But for now, I'm going to break it down into 4 parts. So, part 0 is you're hanging off the rope and your arms are straight. Part 2 is a knee raise. Again, your arms stay straight. If you want, you can slightly push back using your lats, kind of like this, which will tilt your body so your torso is slightly facing up like this, but the primary focus is just doing a knee raise. Pretty much everyone can hang from a pull-up bar and raise their knees above the height of their hips, and that's the most important part that a lot of people miss, is they start pulling themselves up and pinching their feet instead of keeping the arms relaxed, keeping them close together. Closer they are together, the more it's going to feel like a pull-up bar, and you're not going to have an extended amount of weight focused on one hand of your grip. The one that's higher usually takes the brunt of the load. So keep them close, hang tall, and then raise your knees. So I'm going to jump a little bit so I can actually hang tall. Pretty simple. Jump, hang tall, raise your knees as high as you can, and I'll do it again, but I'll show that subtle lean back while still keeping the arms fairly straight. So that's coming from this motion and still crunching through the midline. So that's the first part. The second part is while you're in that position, pinching quickly and effectively. I'm going to show you some drills later to really practice that pinch. As you get tired, you see this happening a lot because you're not familiar with that pinch. It's a skill. You have to develop it. It needs to be second nature, so no matter how tired you are, you're there. So, knees up, pinch. Then when you pinch, as soon as you get that pinch, you scoop the feet in towards the butt. And I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to explain why. So, a lot of people forget that step of scooping it into the butt. Now, if you try to pinch and you're in this extended position leaning back and you try to shoot yourself up, you're going to be pulling yourself up the rope like this, which is super ineffective. You want to keep that rope, you want to keep the points of contact along your body as close as possible from your face to your chest, to your groin, to your knees. The closer it is, the more control you're going to have over how you move and how you move up this rope. And it's going to take less energy. Just like when you're doing a lift with a barbell, the further away the barbell gets, the more energy you're using. So hang, knees up, pinch, bring it into the butt. And when you bring it into the butt, you're going to be in this position. You're not going to have to actually pull yourself in. It's naturally going to scoot you up, and your arms will all of a sudden be bent and hopefully near your face. Ideally, if you've pinched high enough, that distance between your hands and your feet will cause your arms to be here. So I'm going to do a few. Okay, all right, ready? So the next step is the fourth and final step of the rope climb. You're in this crouched position with your knees up, your feet near your butt, a tight clamp, and your hands somewhere between here and here, depending on how aggressively you lifted up your legs. And then from there, the focus is to drive with those legs like a jumping air squat and extend. So you're again in this totally flexed position, totally straight up and down, covering as much ground as you can with your next reach, and then immediately letting go with your feet and doing the process again. So you don't want to hang out in this extended position for too long, because obviously that's going to put some, strain on your grip, because when you're in tight, the weight can be in your feet, but the more extended you become, you can't really stand like this and expect all the weight to be in your feet. So I'm going to show you a proper rope climb. Now, something that a lot of people do is they do all those steps right, and then once they're down here and they push up, they either start going like this and they're actually pulling with their arms, or they do press with their feet, but they still go hand over hand. Now, depending on your level of strength and comfort, that's still fine. But I would prefer if you do this. You go from here, you keep the rope in tight, you keep your hands here, and you go both hands at a time. Every second you have, or every half a second, you have just one hand on the rope, the amount of load on that hand is so much greater than whenever you have both hands on the rope. So as much as possible, again, that's a little dangerous if you're a newcomer, if you're not super familiar with a rope and you don't have the upper body strength and just the global sort of core strength to keep yourself stable. And so I'm going to do one in real time, how it should look, and then we'll slow it down. Do another one. Something I wanted to mention at the beginning of this video that I forgot, but now I remembered. I say this all the time. There's no such thing as a slow rope climb, only longer rest. So for every second you're making contact with this rope, you're under load. You have to have the strength in your arms. No matter how much you don't try and use them, you're going to use your arms. So I want all your rope climbs to be fast, efficient, smooth, your ascent, your descent, and then you rest. So if you're down here thinking, man, this is gonna be a slow rope climb because I'm tired, rest longer, do a fast rope climb, and then reset. As soon as you spend, I can do a rope climb in maybe 5 seconds, 6 seconds. So let's say if you're a newcomer, it might take you, 8 or 10. But if you start taking 15, 20 seconds and that whole time you're holding on, you're gonna be in trouble. That's pretty much it for the J hook. I am gonna show you how to descend properly. Typically at CrossFit competitions, they're going to have a 15-foot rope, which is the height of this rig, and then there's gonna be there's gonna be a piece of tape at the 9-foot mark. So my reach is about 8 feet. It's gonna be a foot above that. There's not one on here, unfortunately, but what you wanna do, ascend, touch, and then descend effectively. So the next pinch I'm gonna show you is the most effective for descending. If you're using the J hook, I'll show you the strategy that I implement. Look at that, transition. Okay, so luckily I'm really tall. So my feet, when I'm fully extended and I touch the top of this rig, my feet are usually at about the 8-foot mark because I can reach about 8 foot. So 8 plus 8, 16, therefore I'm below 9. Anyway, I'm gonna touch, keep one arm on, bring them both back down, pinch really hard still, immediately reach down and grab with my one hand just below the line, other hand below the line, unscoop my feet, kick them out, and jump down. So I'm gonna show you that kind of here, then I'll show you in real time, and then I'll explain to you what you can do if you're not as tall as me. So I've touched, and then I'm gonna go down, and then from here, I let go. Okay, if you are shorter than me, you won't be able to do that in one motion. So you're gonna kind of do it in two, where you're gonna touch, grab back down, loosen your grip a bit to slide a little further down, and then do exactly what I showed you. That's hard for me to demo on this short rope. So I'm gonna show you on the tall rope how I do that, my style, and then I'm gonna show you how you do it in your style if you're not as tall as me. So I've touched, bring my hands together, reach down behind the line, reach down again. You're gonna be inverted there. It can be a little crazy, but if you start to unclamp your feet just at the right time, it's not a big deal. I'll do it in real time this time, and then we'll slow it down. So that pretty much covers it for the J hook. One thing you might have noticed me doing here that I wanted to bring up as well is the initial jump. So a lot of people think that the initial jump is really important. It isn't not important, but what you'll notice is a lot of the time I'll just stand with my hands high and do a little hop, because what a lot of people do is they try and jump as high as they can, which takes energy, and then they grab here. By the time they extend, their feet are probably on the ground. I've seen people crush workouts with rope climbs that are very short, and they start every rope climb like this. Walk up to the rope and pinch high. So if you are gonna jump, no matter how high you jump, ensure that you're grabbing the rope with straight arms. And also, if you have a lot of rope climbs to do, try to think about alternating every rope climb with one hand above the other, and then the next time use the non-dominant hand, because whatever hand's on top is likely going to become more fatigued, and we don't want to have one hand, blow up, so to speak, because you need them.